Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Surya. In this video, we are going to focus on how to write a strong compare and contrast essay for IELTS Task 2. We'll look at what comparison really means in academic writing, how to organize your ideas clearly, and the two most effective structures you can use to compare similarities and differences in a logical way. Let's begin. In IELTS Writing Task 2, the instruction compare and contrast is used in a very specific way. To compare means to focus on similarities, what two ideas have in common. To contrast means to focus on differences, how they are not the same. A strong compare-contrast essay must do both of these clearly. If you only describe similarities, your response is incomplete. If you only focus on differences, you're also not fully answering the task. So, from this point onwards, keep one key idea in mind. Every compare-contrast essay must clearly include both similarities and differences. Now that this is clear, let's look at how we organize these ideas in an effective way. There are two effective ways to organize a compare and contrast essay in IELTS. The first is called the point-by-point method. In every compare and contrast essay, there are two options, which are two choices given in the question. For example, you may have something like living in big cities and living in small towns or villages. To compare these two options, you can choose different aspects, such as lifestyle, cost of living, or education. In the point-by-point method, you compare one aspect at a time. For each aspect, you discuss both options together before moving on to the next point. The second is the block method. In this structure, you group all similarities in one paragraph and all differences in another paragraph. Both of these methods are fully acceptable in IELTS. What matters is not the method you choose, but how clearly you show comparison and contrast. In the next slide, we'll look closely at the point-by-point method and see how it works in practice. First, we'll start with the point-by-point method. In this structure, the introduction presents both options given in the question and makes it clear that the essay will compare and contrast them. Each body paragraph focuses on one aspect and explains how the two options given in the question are similar or different within the same paragraph. This is important. We don't write about one option alone. We compare them directly in the same paragraph. Finally, the conclusion summarizes the main similarities and differences and gives your preference if the question asks for it. This structure helps maintain strong coherence because the reader can immediately see how one idea relates to the other. For IELTS, this kind of paragraph control is very important. Now we will see how the block method can be used to write this essay. The introduction presents both options and clearly states that the essay will compare and contrast them. In this structure, the first body paragraph groups all similarities between the two ideas, while the second body paragraph focuses on all differences. The conclusion summarizes the main similarities and differences and states your preference if the task requires it. The key principle here is simple. Ideas are grouped by function. In IELTS, both structures are acceptable. The key is to choose one and use it consistently throughout the essay. Before we start writing, let's look at a typical compare-contrast question, analyze it, and plan our ideas. Let's read the question together. Some students prefer to live in hostels while studying at college or university, while others choose to live with their families. Compare and contrast these two living arrangements and say which one you prefer. This question asks us to compare two living arrangements, living in hostels and living with family, while studying at college or university. The task is clear. We must compare similarities contrast differences, and also state our preference. Now, the next step is brainstorming. We need to find the common aspects that apply to both living arrangements. These shared points of comparison allows us to analyze the two choices fairly, instead of just describing them separately. For our example, these common aspects could include independence, study environment, cost, social life, and family support. Having this list is very useful. These shared aspects help us organize the essay clearly. No matter which essay structure we choose, point by point or block, we can use these same points to discuss both options in a clear, logical way. For a strong IELTS essay, we don't need to use all of these points. Instead, we'll select just two aspects from this list to allow clear comparison and sufficient development in our body paragraphs. Let's start with the introduction. On the left, you can see what an introduction should do in a compare and contrast essay. It should paraphrase the task, introduce both options, show that the essay will compare similarities and contrast differences, and briefly state your preference if required. First, we need to paraphrase the question. Paraphrasing does not mean changing every word. Instead, it means restating the same idea using different language, while keeping the meaning clear and accurate. Let's see how this can be done in an introduction. For example, some university students choose to stay in hostels during their studies, while others prefer to live at home with their families. Although both living arrangements support academic life, they differ in several important ways. This essay compares and contrasts these two options and explains why living with family is the better choice. Notice how the original task has been paraphrased, not copied word for word. Both living arrangements are clearly introduced, and it is made clear that the essay will compare and contrast them. The preference is also stated briefly at the end, without giving reasons yet. This is exactly what an effective introduction should do, nothing more. Let's now move to body paragraph 1, using the point-by-point method. In this paragraph, we focus on one comparison aspect, which is independence. Take a moment to pause the video and read the paragraph on the screen. Have you finished reading it? Okay. Now let's look at how this paragraph is constructed. First, notice that the paragraph focuses on one aspect only, which is independence. Next, both living arrangements are discussed within the same paragraph. The sentence about hostel living is immediately followed by the sentence about living with family, making the comparison clear. Also notice the comparison signals such as by contrast and while, which help the reader see the difference quickly. Finally, the paragraph includes supporting examples, like managing daily routines, to explain the comparison instead of just stating it. Everything in this paragraph supports the same comparison aspect, independence. This is the key feature of the point-by-point method. One aspect, both options, in one paragraph. Now let's look at the second body paragraph. I advise you to pause the video and read the complete paragraph. Okay, now let's look at how this paragraph is developed. First, notice that the paragraph focuses on one clear comparison aspect, which is the study environment. Both living arrangements are discussed within the same paragraph, but this time the comparison is shown using different sentence structures, not the same linking words as before. Notice phrases like on the other hand and although. This helps avoid repeating the same expressions and improves lexical range. Also notice how the paragraph uses specific supporting details such as shared spaces and quiet home environments to explain the comparison clearly rather than just stating differences. This kind of variation improves clarity and also shows better control of language, which is important for higher band scores. Let's now move to the conclusion. On the left, you can see what a conclusion should do in a compare and contrast essay. It should briefly summarize the main similarities and differences and restate your preference if required. On the right is a model conclusion for our essay. Before we discuss it, take a moment to pause the video and read the conclusion on the screen. Have you finished? Okay, now notice how the conclusion works. It briefly summarizes the two comparison aspects discussed in the body paragraphs, independence and study environment, and restates the preference clearly. Notice that no new ideas or examples are introduced. Everything in the conclusion comes directly from the body paragraphs. This is exactly what an effective conclusion in a compare and contrast essay should do. Bring the comparison to a clear and natural close. Let's now look at the complete structure of our point-by-point essay and clarify an important language point. In a compare and contrast essay, remember this. Comparison means showing similarities. Contrast means showing differences. Our essay does both. Let's see how. First, notice the thesis statement in the introduction. It clearly signals that the essay will compare and contrast the two living arrangements and also states a preference for living with family. This prepares the reader for what is coming. Next, look at the ideas discussed in the body paragraphs. Only two comparison aspects are used: independence and study environment. Each body paragraph focuses on one aspect only. This keeps the essay clear and well organized. Now, notice the signposting language. Topic sentences such as one important aspect to compare and another important aspect to consider guide the reader through the body paragraphs, while, in conclusion, clearly signals the final paragraph. After that, focus on how similarities are shown. In body paragraph 1, the similarity is introduced with in both living options. In body paragraph 2, a similar pattern is used with both provide students with spaces to study. These short similarity statements establish a common base. Finally, look at how contrast is developed. Most of each body paragraph is spent explaining differences using language such as although, but, by contrast, while, on the other hand, and verbs like differ and vary. This detailed contrast is what gives the essay depth. This is an important point to remember for IELTS. You do not need equal numbers of similarity and difference sentences. In many compare-contrast essays, it is enough to state the similarity clearly and then develop the differences in more detail. Our model essay does exactly this. It mentions the similarity briefly and develops the contrast fully. This clear and detailed explanation is what helps you get a higher band score. Let's now look at the same essay written using the block method. Remember that in the block method, ideas are organized by function, not by topic. That means one paragraph focuses only on similarities and another paragraph focuses only on differences. Before we analyze it, pause the video and read the complete essay on the screen. Look at the structure diagram. The introduction is unchanged. It presents both options and states the compare-contrast intent with an opinion. Now, body paragraph 1 has a single function, all similarities. Its topic sentence sets this up. There are several similarities between living in hostels and living with family. Inside, it lists what they share: managing academic responsibilities, having a place to study, and receiving social support. Importantly, this paragraph does not evaluate which option is better. Its only purpose is to identify shared features. Body paragraph 2 has the opposite function, all differences. The transition is vital. Despite these similarities, the two living arrangements differ in important ways. This paragraph then groups our two key differences. First, independence, then study environment. It uses contrast language like on the other hand and by contrast within the single block. Finally, notice the conclusion. The conclusion does not explain ideas again. It simply summarizes the key differences and restates the preference. So remember the key rule. In the block method, one body paragraph is used for all similarities, one for all differences, and the conclusion is kept short. This way of writing also can help improve your band score. Before you submit any compare and contrast essay, use this quick checklist to ensure you have covered all important things. First, double-check your task response. Your essay must cover both similarities and differences. If you miss one, you haven't fully answered the question. Second, review your essay structure. Make sure you've used either the point-by-point or the block method consistently from introduction to conclusion. A clear structure is the backbone of a high-scoring essay. Third, look at your language. Make sure that you've used a variety of linking words to show comparison and contrast. Words like similarly, however, on the other hand, and whereas make your writing flow and demonstrate good vocabulary. Fourth, check your paragraph development. For each main point you make, explain it with a reason or an example. Avoid just stating facts. Show your analysis. And finally, your conclusion. It should be short and sweet, only summarizing the main similarities and differences you have already discussed. This is not the place for new arguments or information. Remember the most important principle of all. In IELTS, clarity and task achievement matter more than the specific structure you choose. If your comparison is logical and your contrasts are clear, your essay is on the right track. That brings us to the end of this lesson on writing a strong compare and contrast essay for IELTS Task 2. We looked at the meaning of the task, the two main structures with a complete model, and the language needed to show clear comparison and contrast. Your next step is crucial: practice. To apply what you have learned, try this prompt. Some people think working from home is better, while others prefer working in an office. Compare and contrast working from home and working in an office. Which one do you prefer? Try writing the essay using the point-by-point method or the block method, and notice which structure helps you organize your ideas more clearly. If you found this lesson useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more IELTS support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.